Idaho. Have you ever been to Idaho? $10 billion. I think of potatoes when I think of Idaho. That's a lot of potatoes. But that $10 billion is the amount of money the state treasurer in Idaho has in quote unquote idle funds. And they are taking action to allow the treasurer to invest part of that money into silver and gold because that fund, that $10 billion, has been ravaged by the effects of inflation over the last few years. Idaho joins a growing list of states taking action to either allow their treasurers to invest idle funds into silver and gold, or even to allow citizens of individual states to reclaim their right to use silver and gold as legal tender. It's a movement sweeping across the country. Let's focus in on Idaho today because it is fascinating. This bill passed the Idaho House by a vote of 40-29. Let me let you hear what Rep. Vito Barbieri had to say. He said, "We need to give our treasurer the ability to consider doing what so many central banks around the world have been doing, which is acquiring gold. Gold and silver are also right there in our U.S. Constitution." $10 billion is a lot of money. And Stephen Gleason, he's the president of Idaho-based Money Metals Exchange, says this: "That's because the state reserves are principally invested in low-interest debt paper, like U.S. Treasuries, money market funds, corporate debt, repurchase agreements, and other dollar-denominated debt, and those have been decimated by inflation over the last year." And aren't we seeing more and more states taking action to protect their citizens? As a matter of fact, Ohio and Texas recently put 5% of their pension funds into physical gold and silver. What is that telling us? We'd like to thank our sponsor, First Mining Gold. They're a Canadian gold developer with 2 world-class projects in Canada. They also have a handful of other projects. When you total up all the gold in their resources, it comes to over 12 million ounces. They're worth checking out. I'll put a link to the company's website in the description below. And what's interesting about this HB 180 in Idaho is the fact that we're talking about physical gold and silver only. Let me read this to you. It adds the authority to hold physical gold and silver directly and in a manner that does not assume the counterparty and default risk involved with other state holdings. The HB 180 bill does not grant any authority to buy stocks, futures contracts, or other gold-based proxies or financial instruments. Then it goes on to say that there are actually 5 depositories, at least, in Idaho that would be eligible to hold Idaho's gold and or silver. J.P. Cortez from the Sound Money Defense League said this: "It's prudent to provide the state treasurer with options to hedge against the accelerating inflation that's been foisted upon savers, wage earners, retirees, and the gem state itself by short-sighted politicians and central bankers in Washington, D.C. I think we can say he did not mince his words when he talked about that. Boy, it is getting interesting all across the country as states are taking action. But if we take a step back, what does that tell us regarding the future demand picture for the precious metals? I don't think it's a leap to see that the demand picture down the road looks very, very encouraging. I would suspect we'll even, maybe, and let me know what you think, see higher prices in the precious metals, gold and silver. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.